Fat loss resistance is very often not just a willpower problem or even purely a calorie problem. It's a signaling problem across your gut, your hormones, your stress, all of which are interconnected. Two people can eat the exact same diet and get completely different results because their internal signaling environment is completely different. This is also why fasting protocols pulled from a podcast or an influencer that are just applied blindly can help one person and actually harm another.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information, with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
Health Decoded listeners, if you're dealing with bloating that just won't go away, no matter what you eat, no matter what you try, I need you to hear this. The bloating isn't the problem. It's a signal. Every external symptom you're experiencing, the discomfort, the fatigue, the frustration, has a root cause. And in my years of clinical practice, it almost always leads back to the gut. Nothing else in your body can fully heal until that foundation is restored. I built this framework from my own health journey. I was that patient, frustrated, dismissed, searching for answers. I took everything I learned, refined it through years of clinical testing, and have since helped hundreds of patients achieve complete relief from their symptoms. That became the Total Gut Reset, a step-by-step protocol with one goal: reset your gut in 6 months or less. If you're ready to learn exactly what's causing your symptoms and eliminate them for good, I'm hosting a free webinar where I walk you through the entire framework. The link is in the show notes. Go ahead and register, and I'll see you there. Welcome back to Health Decoded. I'm your host, Dr. Alessi. In the last episode, we talked about why chronic dieting suppresses your metabolism and why the fix is actually rebuilding your metabolic rate, not just restricting further. Today, we're going to go one layer deeper into your gut and your hormones, because fat storage isn't just a calorie math problem. It's a signaling problem. Your gut bacteria are talking to your hormones. Your hormones are talking to your fat cells. And if any part of that conversation is disrupted, you can do everything right and still not see the results that you should. We're also going to talk about fasting, honestly, and with the nuance it deserves, especially for women, because there's a lot of confidently wrong advice out there. This is Health Decoded. I'm Dr. Alessi. Let's get started. So let's start with something most people have never even really connected. Your gut microbiome directly influences your hormone balance and therefore your ability to lose and keep off fat. Your gut bacteria produce and metabolize a huge range of compounds that interact with your endocrine system. One of the clearest examples is what's called the estrobiome, a collection of gut bacteria that specifically metabolize estrogen. When this population is disrupted through either poor diet, chronic stress, use of antibiotics, or gut dysbiosis, estrogen metabolism gets disrupted along with it. That can mean estrogen is being reabsorbed instead of properly cleared, which contributes to estrogen-dominant patterns, which we commonly see alongside stubborn fat storage, particularly around hips and thighs. Your gut also plays a major role in insulin sensitivity. Certain gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, compounds such as butyrate, that improve how your cells will respond to insulin. When gut diversity is low, this production drops, and insulin resistance becomes more likely. Insulin resistance means your body is pumping out more insulin to manage blood sugar. And insulin is fundamentally a fat storage hormone. When it's chronically elevated, it makes fat loss significantly harder, regardless of what you're eating. Then there's the gut-brain-cortisol connection. Your gut produces the majority of your body's serotonin, and gut inflammation can directly influence your stress response through the vagus nerve. Chronic gut inflammation can elevate cortisol. Chronically elevated cortisol does several things that work against fat loss. It's going to promote visceral fat storage, which is specifically fat around the organs. It can increase cravings for high-calorie foods, and it will interfere with thyroid conversion, connecting right back to what we discussed in episode 1. If you missed that episode, Go ahead and go back and listen to that. That's part 1 of this mini-series. When a patient comes to me and says, I'm eating well, I'm exercising, and nothing's happening, gut health is one of the first places we look, because if the gut is inflamed or dysbiotic, we can have someone doing everything else correctly and still hit a wall. This is why testing markers like inflammatory markers, and in some cases, even a comprehensive stool analysis, is part of how we actually find out what's happening, instead of just guessing, throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So let me give you a picture of what this would look like clinically. I'm going to call this patient Maria. Again, this is a composite, not a specific patient, more of an example. Maria came to us after years of doing everything right, air quotes, clean diet, consistent workouts, but she was still carrying this stubborn weight, particularly around her midsection and hips. She also mentioned, almost as like an aside, that she'd had ongoing digestive issues for years. Most people are going to almost dismiss that, right? When the fat and body composition is their primary focus. She'd had bloating, irregularity, stool changes that she'd basically stopped mentioning to doctors because everyone told her it was just stress, or she had IBS and manage it with fiber, is what they said. When we ran comprehensive panel, inflammatory markers, full hormone panel, and gut testing, we found significant gut dysbiosis alongside elevated inflammatory markers and a pattern consistent with estrogen dominance. Nobody had ever connected these dots for her. She'd been treated for IBS and separately told to just diet more for the weight, as if these were two separate problems. They were not. They were not unrelated. They were the same problem showing up in two places. Once we addressed the gut inflammation directly, her hormone markers began improving within a few minutes. For the first time in years, the stubborn fat that hadn't responded to diet and exercise alone started to actually move. So now let's talk about fasting, because I get asked about this constantly, and I know many people are curious about this topic, but I want to give you a real answer instead of just a trend, because fasting works differently for different people. Intermittent fasting does work. I'll start with that. For the right person, through legitimate mechanisms, it can improve insulin sensitivity. It can support cellular cleanup processes called autophagy. And for some people, it simplifies adherence to a low-calorie intake without having to constantly track things. That's real. That's the way it works. And I'm not here to say it's bad, because it's not. And I fast occasionally. But just saying blanketly that fasting is healthy for everyone is really not good medicine and can actually cause more damage to people. And that's where it's very important, especially with women's hormonal health, to make sure we understand the mechanism. And so here's the way it works, because I want you to understand, and this isn't caution just for the sake of being cautious. Your reproductive hormone cycle is regulated by a communication system between your brain and your ovaries. The hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, HPO axis. This system is exquisitely sensitive to your energy availability. So when your brain detects that energy is coming too low relative to what's going out, through a signaling hormone called kisspeptin, it can downregulate the entire reproductive hormone cascade. Your body decides reproduction isn't a priority right now when there's not enough fuel. What this can show up like is irregular cycles, shortened luteal phase, and in more severe cases, the cycle stopping altogether, which is a condition called hypothalamic amenorrhea. This is also a reason we see many women struggle with fertility. The body does not want to prioritize pregnancy or growing a fetus when it doesn't have the adequate energy that it needs. And so who's actually at a higher risk for this? It's not all women. I'm not going to blanketly say that. It's women who already have low energy availability in play. Maybe women with a history of disordered eating or chronic calorie restriction. Maybe women who are training at high volume without matching their intake. Anyone who's already underweight or in a significant deficit. Anyone who's actively trying to conceive. Fasting is not appropriate during pregnancy or breastfeeding. Full stop. It also includes women showing signs of high cortisol or adrenal dysfunction, because that same stress axis interacts directly with reproductive hormone signaling. Now, perimenopause is where this gets genuinely nuanced. It's not a simple yes or no. A woman in perimenopause with a still regular cycle, low symptoms, maybe no sign of HPA axis dysfunction, she may tolerate fasting reasonably well, and it may be a good play. A woman in perimenopause who already has irregular cycles, significant symptoms like hot flashes, disrupted sleep, mood changes, and signs of HPA dysfunction, that's a different clinical picture, and fasting is more likely to add stress to a system that's already under strain than to help it. What actually determines this isn't really age. It's cycle regularity, symptom burden, and whether there's already evidence of dysfunction. So if you fall into one of the higher risk categories, the fix isn't just eat on a schedule and don't worry about it, because meal timing usually isn't the real lever. The actual issue is typically total energy availability and nervous system load, a food quantity and stress problem, not a clock problem. And fixing that requires actually knowing where your numbers stand, not just guessing. So to be clear, this is general education based on the physiology, not personalized recommendation. What's right for you depends on your actual history, your labs, and much more, your lifestyle, everything, which is exactly what we would look at together. And so here's where this leaves us for this. Fat loss resistance is very often not just a willpower problem or even purely a calorie problem. It's a signaling problem across your gut, your hormones, your stress, all of which are interconnected. Two people can eat the exact same diet and get completely different results because their internal signaling environment is completely different. This is also why fasting protocols pulled from a podcast or an influencer that are just applied blindly can help one person and actually harm another. The variable isn't just willpower or discipline. It's actual physiology, and you can't know your physiology without looking directly. And so, as an aside to everything I just said, this is not personalized medical advice. I hope you know that. This is general education information. If you need personal medical advice, I would encourage you, book a discovery call with us, with myself or a member of my team, and let's get into what your actually needs. On the next episode of this mini-series, I'm going to bring all of this together because understanding the problem is necessary, but it's not the whole solution. We're going to talk about the piece that actually builds lasting results, muscle as a metabolic asset, how much protein actually matters, and where thermogenics realistically fit in. I'll walk you through what a real comprehensive approach to this looks like, not just a 30-day fix, but something built around actual data. Thank you so much for listening in. If any of this, the gut connection, the hormone signaling, or the question around fasting sounds like it applies to you, or you have questions and you want real answers instead of guesses, that's exactly the kind of assessment we do at Ascend Functional Health. Go to the link in the show notes. You can book a discovery call with myself or a member of my team to learn more about a personalized approach with functional medicine. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources, personalized support, or to have your questions answered live on the show, visit Ascend Functional Health and head to the contact page to connect with us directly. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.